Sirach 26 says this about the joy of a good wife. Happy is the husband of a good wife. The number of his days will be doubled. A loyal wife brings joy to her husband, and he will complete his years in peace. A good wife is a great blessing. She will be granted among the blessings of the man who fears the Lord. Whether rich or poor, his heart is content, and at all times his face is cheerful. Hey friends, welcome here. Today I'm going to be talking about the notion of being your husband's greatest asset. This is something that I've been thinking a lot about lately, and it's been particularly on my heart because it's one thing that I've been making a priority in my life and in my marriage as of late. And I have just really seen the wonderful fruits and blessings of doing that over this last little while. So I'm just going to share some of the realizations I've come to, the convictions and thoughts I've had towards this notion. I've been really blessed lately to just be going through such a beautiful season of marriage. I'm so grateful for my husband. I love my husband. And just little by little, I'm getting a more clearer picture of what it means to really be unified to your spouse. I wouldn't say I obviously have that whole picture, but you hear that sentiment said a lot, and there is a belief, I think, or a perception that being united with your spouse, having a good relationship with your spouse, maybe looks like just agreeing together or not having conflict, not having tension, and things just kind of being good, which there is aspects of that, but sometimes I think it can lend itself to the belief that, as long as everything's okay, there's no major conflict going on, that you're in a good place in your marriage. And while that might be true, it can also be true that there's nothing really standing out in your marriage, or things just being okay is just a sign that you're not growing. And lately, with being intentional about prioritizing being my husband's greatest asset, and I'll get more into what that has looked like for me in my life right now, I've really reaped and seen the benefits and the fruits of what it doesn't just look like to have a okay marriage. I'm really seeing a window and a pathway to greatness in our marriage. And that makes me just extremely excited and happy and grateful and joyful for the marriage I'm in. And I just pray to the Lord that that continues to keep growing. I'm going to just jump right into some of the realizations and convictions I've been having lately in this regard. When I mean being your husband's greatest asset, by that notion, I'm meaning being the woman that your husband wants to come to, wants to talk to, seeks counsel from, seeks comfort in, can be vulnerable with, sees you in some ways as his greatest weapon in a sense, or his greatest tool to success in his life, in the mission that he is carrying forth. And not only does he just want to inform you about the mission that he's on, but he cares to include you to be a part of that adventure and journey. And he wants and desires so much your input, your feedback, your thoughts. And it's this vibrant dynamic that you both have where you're feeding off of each other and producing something exciting, building something beautiful, and carving out a mission together that you're both creating with our Lord, and something really tangible. And so now I'm just going to jump right into some of these realizations and convictions that I've been having lately in this regard. The first being, don't expect the leader of the home to confide in you if you're unstable. Another way to say that is, don't expect your husband to come to you if you are an emotionally turbulent woman. Something I've just realized over time, and I think it just makes a lot of sense when you think about it, is your husband is supposed to be the leader of your home. He is the leader of your home. And why would the captain that is steering your ship ask for feedback, ask for advice, ask for their thoughts to a person who doesn't seem to have any clear direction as to where they are going, or doesn't seem to be dependable or reliable? Like, why would a leader go to that person for any sort of counsel whatsoever? It actually just doesn't make sense on a practical level. And so in general, it has been a great priority for me lately to be a competent, emotionally, mentally, psychologically stable woman and person for my husband, because well, for my husband and for myself, that I shouldn't really expect, or it's kind of hard to expect my husband, who is a rational, logical thinker, a leader and a leader of our family, and to expect him to come to me when I don't have my ducks in a row, when I'm not doing my duties, if it seems like I am floundering or incapable of handling what is in front of me on my regular day, like I want my husband to look at me and see, wow, like that is a wise, capable, competent woman who is like a sense of security in herself, has a confidence in her vocation, who takes life with a great intentionality and purpose. And therefore he desires my counsel. He desires my thoughts because he admires the way that I live and the kind of woman that I am and the person that I'm striving to be. I think that is a really important thing to make a priority in your life, especially if you want your husband to respect your thoughts and opinions. I think that love is not earned, that's for sure. Whether your husband or wife is awesome, they still are owed your love, and they don't need to earn that love from you. However, when it comes to respect is something that we have to work for. Respect is something that we aren't just automatically given. And when I'm meaning respect in this regard, I'm talking about a certain level of trust that your thoughts and opinions and feedback are worth listening to because of the wisdom that it contains. And so what has that looked like for me on a practical daily basis is getting my emotions under control. I want to give my husband the gift of a woman who is not a worrywart, is not fearful about every single little thing, is so easily prone to anger, is not just rocked by every whim of her emotions. Naturally, as a woman, we are more emotional. And yeah, I have emotions. I know I'm an emotional being, but not even just for husbands. Like the more that I'm thinking and the more I've been working on this for myself, I mean, my husband has been, I think, a big motivator, wanting to please my husband, wanting to be the kind of woman that brings joy to my husband. That has been a great motivator in this. But the more and more as I'm, just working on these things for myself, I think you come to realize too, it's like, well, that's kind of what you were called to be from the beginning, right? Like the Lord is not trying to take away, any of these things or parts of yourself, like these natural inclinations that we have, but to like perfect them and to make them better. And that might be obvious, but I think that is something that I have kind of taken away from this time of intentionality, is like, this is the kind of woman I want to be regardless, like I want to be the kind of woman who can show up into a chaotic situation and be at peace. And I want to be the kind of woman who doesn't let the little things that people say or do bother me and irk me and let just things like roll off my back, I'm just going to speak on I don't know every other husband, obviously, and what their thoughts are, but I'm going to guess for the most part that it is kind of it's exhausting for men to hear women just like emotionally unload and beg and worry and freak out about so many different things, because they already have so much on their shoulders. Like they're shouldering providing and protecting for their family, for you. And we come to them sometimes with these kind of superficial or petty things that I think, I'm just imagining from their point of view, can be kind of exhausting, right? Like to feel like my wife can't shoulder something so small. It's like, or something that really shouldn't bother her so much, or shouldn't make up her entire world, or ruin her whole day, or, be on her heart in such a substantial way that she's incapable to function in all these other areas of her life. Like, to me, that doesn't sound like the kind of companion and the kind of woman that a husband would be, jumping up for joy to have by his side to do life with, that like, I think there's something to reflect on, is that as women, we should embrace obviously these tender parts of ourselves that have emotion, that are relational, but that doesn't mean that we have to get swept up in those things, that we have to make those things crutches. I think it's important to know those things and to possess them as tools, as things that equip us to better love, to better enter into different scenarios and be in relationship with other people. But it shouldn't be the kind of thing that causes a crutch or becomes a crutch in our lives and becomes a burden to ourselves and ultimately becomes a burden to our husbands. And so in this time, if I ever feel like my husband might be lacking confidence for me, or maybe not coming to me or asking my feedback about anything, even though that's not necessarily something I feel lately I've been experiencing as much, thankfully. If I sensed that, I think a good place to start is just asking yourself, before I question my husband's lack of confidence or lack of coming to me, I should question if there's anything lacking in myself. Is there anything that I need to be working on, or any way that I'm acting or being that is maybe making it not an attractive idea to come to me for things? The second thing that I've been prioritizing that has seemed to be really blessing our marriage lately is becoming one mind with my husband. That doesn't just mean agreeing with him. Oftentimes, I think the notion of unity in people's minds translates to we just agree on the same thing or we come to the same conclusion. But I think there's a distinction between agreeing on something and then actually thinking about the thing in the same exact way and you come to the same conclusions together. Because my husband is the one who is, steering the ship, running the show, like the leader of the household, I want to get on board with why he thinks the way he does. For my husband in particular, he is a businessman. He's his own entrepreneur. And so he is so well adversed in the world of business, and that world shapes his worldview. And so lately I've been making it a priority, and he has been giving me material for me to listen to that helps me to understand his perspective. And my husband has always been and is a more logical thinker, more systematic. I've always appreciated his way of tackling different situations or conflicts and things like that. And I remember telling to him that I wanted to think with his mind. I wanted his mind. I wanted to absorb that more into myself because I just genuinely also appreciated the way that he thought and the way that he thinks about things. And so that lent itself to him telling me the different books that he felt like really reformative and shaped his worldview or perspective on things, listening to the things that he enjoyed listening to, different podcasts, different books, like anything that he would read. And then one created a pathway that, yes, I was able to understand where he's coming from with a lot of things. But then it also just gave us more conversation, more leverage in conversation to talk about all of these different things. And I got to have the great gift of seeing into the mind of my husband. And I think one could hear that and think, well, what about you? Like, as in me, like, what about the way that I think and the things that matter to you? And nobody says that prioritizing or really making a great effort to understand your husband better means diminishing your worth or the things that are important to you in any way. But honestly, for me as a wife, it brings me so much joy to know how my husband thinks. That's what I want. I mean, I married him for a reason, because I love him, because I want to do life with him. So to me, it's a no-brainer that I would want to invest and put so much energy into knowing how this man works. He is the one who's calling a lot of the shots. He gets the ultimate say, and I want to be alongside him when he does that, and I want to understand it. And I find that the more and more that I have become invested in the way that my husband thinks and reading the materials that he reads and consuming the content and ideas that he does, I think he feels respected and appreciated naturally by that. And I think a fruit of that is him wanting my feedback, is him saying, hey, what do you think? Is there anything that I'm missing? Like, based on the things that we've listened to, or like these ideas that we've talked about, like, do you think that that's in line? Do you have any other thoughts? Right. And naturally, I think he's been just wanting more of my opinion and more of my feedback. And that is worth so much to me. Like, that brings me so much joy. I mean, ultimately, yes, my interests and things that I like, or the things that I prefer, however I prefer to do things or whatever, sure, like that, those are things that are important. But at the end of the day, like, what's most important to me is my family, is their joy, their like my family thriving, my marriage thriving. And that is only elevated further when I become more of one mind with my husband. And so maybe this is, I guess, a treatise to wives in particular, because I'm speaking from a perspective of a wife, of how I think you could kind of get more on board with your husband and therefore become his greatest asset. I mean, maybe you might see that as a burden, but I think that is a really special gift, a special gift and a great responsibility that you have to be the woman at your husband's side that he looks upon and thinks, man, this is the woman I want on my side. This is the woman that I want to do life with. This is the woman that I want to do be on a mission with. And I am so grateful that she is like the extension of myself, all the female gifts. And I think that is a beautiful thing to strive for, and to make your priority in your marriage. And so I guess I'm ultimately sharing all of this today because I have really just been so grateful for this season of marriage. We've definitely had our own ups and downs, and it's not linear, of course. However, you always hope it is progressing, right? Always going on the up. Whether you kind of go into different dips, that it's always moving towards something great. And this season has just brought to light all the more how much joy that the Lord wants to bless our marriages with. I think in particular, I felt like sharing this because I often get the feeling that marriage is just kind of dark for a lot of people. It's not a joy. It's kind of just what it is, you know. It's like living with a roommate, or there's no spark, there's nothing special about it, or yeah, it's good, but it's, it's okay, right? Ultimately, it's okay. But in this small time that I've just been really investing into making our marriage priority in these particular ways, it makes me just so excited. It makes me excited for what marriage is, what marriage can be, what marriage can continue to grow to become, and how much beauty can be reaped forth from that relationship. Because that is the foundation, right, of like the legacy that we're building here, of family, of whatever our marriage produces in terms of like its impact on other people. It's so mysterious, right? Like the impact that our marriages make on the world and how it will bear fruit for generations to come. It's so hard to measure that. It's hard to see that in front of you. But I think the more and more you just, embrace how God maybe is calling you to just lay down your life and to change it so that it can become something so much more beautiful and good, you get these little glimpses, like these little glimpses of heaven. Not fully, of course, but you see these little bits, and they're powerful. It's powerful. I think our marriages are so worth fighting for and to make into something truly, truly amazing.
And so I'll leave you with some questions to ponder. What improvements can I make to become a more stable, competent, and confident wife? Have I ever told my husband that I want to prioritize seeing things from his worldview more? When was the last time I did this? And what can I do in our marriage to make it amazing?
Thanks so much for joining me this time. All glory be to God in all things. Bye.
And so I'll leave you with some questions to ponder. What improvements can I make to become a more stable, competent, and confident wife? Have I ever told my husband that I want to prioritize seeing things from his worldview more? When was the last time I did this? And what can I do in our marriage to make it amazing?